Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Amanda. Thank you so much for tuning in. All of the products that will be used in today's video will be conveniently linked for you in the description box below. No need to go searching for these items, just click on the link and make your purchase. Now let's get started. So this is the beauty we're going to be making today. I love how this tumbler turned out. Now, with that being said, it was not without its challenges. I pretty much had creative freedom with this tumbler, except for the mint color as well as the Bible verse. These were requested by the customer. Other than that, she was like, do your thing. So that got me real excited. I love to design. I love the design process, and I had so many things going through my head. With that being said, that was almost to my detriment, because I changed my mind so many times, and a few things didn't work out, and I fixed a couple of them, and we'll kind of go through all of that, but I still love how this turned out. So we're going to be using some glow-in-the-dark vinyl and beautiful glitters. So let's go ahead and jump in. Today we're working with a 20-ounce skinny from MAKERFLO Crafts, and it has been sanded, washed, and now I'm just wiping it down with some rubbing alcohol and a coffee filter. And then we went months and months and months without rain, and now it has rained about 11 days straight, and it's raining today. So we're going to, instead of using spray paint, we're going to use these chalk paints that I got from the Glitter Grind. And as I mentioned in my previous video, they are having a closing sale. So be sure to grab some glitters and paints and all sorts of other things from them before they close. And then we're going to be using Jaded from the Glitter Grind. We're going to be using Ocean Air, Zephyr Mist, I think that's how that's pronounced, Sea Foam, and look at that, oh my goodness, I don't know if you can see that on camera. That is so beautiful. Oh my goodness, I love it. And then we are also going to be using Bermuda. So those are the glitters we're going to be using today. Oh, and we're also going to be using this Diamonds from Glitter Heart Co. Now, I did not purchase this from Glitter Heart Co. I actually got this as a free gift when I purchased my a little extra incorporated epoxy. So that was super cool of them. I really appreciated that. And we're going to use that today. So let's go ahead with our painting. Now, for the longest time, I did not realize that these little stickers on the bottom of the cup were actually stickers. I thought they were metal, or stainless steel. But anyway, they're stickers. So I went ahead and removed that as well. And I've got my paper paint palette here. We're going to do a little mixing because this looks like it may be a little too dark and this looks like it may be a little too light. So we're going to try to mix these and see what we come up with. Oh, that's so pretty. And that's why I wear gloves. Because the name of my channel should have actually been called
the messy crafter. But see, that looks more like a blue
than a light turquoise.
So I don't know. We're going to see how this works. This may not come out as planned. But you don't know until you try it, right? So
while I'm mixing this paint, I did want to mention, if you are creating multiple tumblers and you want them all to be the same color and you're mixing paints, you'll want to put each of the paint colors into a medicine cup so that you can get an accurate measurement of each of your paint colors. And make a note of that somewhere. Like, I have a tumbler order book that I can write all of the design elements into, and the design process, materials that we used. And you can just put, hey, mixed paints, and you list all the paints you've mixed and name that paint, so that if you want to make a cup just like it in the future, you'll have something to reference.
I think it needs a little more of the light turquoise. See, I don't see turquoise in that. I see it more blue, like baby blue. But nonetheless, we're going to try it. Yeah, that's more of the color I'm going for. And if you want to tape off the bottom of your tumbler and leave it, the stainless steel exposed there, you could. I like to do the entire tumbler. So, oh, that's pretty. So pretty. I love that. So we're going to let that dry for a second, and then we're going to add another, well, not really a second, but we're going to let that dry for a few minutes, and then we're going to add another layer, another coat of paint.
So once your main color has dried, whether it be the mint color that we're using here or whatever other color, if you're recreating this design, you're just gonna go in with an acrylic paint. I'm choosing to use white, and I didn't want it to be a perfect circle or a perfect oval shape. I wanted it to sort of be abstract and have the appearance that it was just kind of like bursting out of the green mint color. Now, in the end, it didn't really look like that to me, as far as like that it was bursting through or whatever. But I think that's because, like I said, I had so many different, if we're talking in terms of like building a house or something, I had so many change orders, if you will. So, but that's okay. Like I said earlier, I loved how this turned out. Once that paint dries, I did go in, okay, so I did this a little different, and I did this in steps. You do not have to do it this way if you do not want to. However, this is how I kind of achieved the easy, subtle ombre look. What I am going to do first is I'm just putting epoxy in what I'm calling the front center of the tumbler, and that's this white spot. If you want it to be perfect, you can just cut vinyl if you want. Do whatever you want. But for this particular tumbler, I'm just adding some epoxy to the white portion only for now. And then we're going to go in with this beautiful glitter that I showed you earlier. And we're just going to sprinkle that in the center until we get full coverage on the front center. Now, after that glitter has been applied, you can either let it cure and then add your epoxy to the remaining cup. But for me, I just went straight in with more epoxy on the rest of the cup. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, why didn't you just epoxy the whole thing at once to begin with and then add your glitters? And that's a valid point. Again, at this point of the design process, I had a couple of things going through my head and I didn't know which way I wanted to go with it. So, the other thing was I wanted to go ahead and get my white down on this side of the tumbler before adding the green. I didn't want to epoxy the entire tumbler and then have the risk of my white mixing in with my green or vice versa. So this way was just a little bit safer of a choice to keep the green and white from mixing. But like I said, if you want to glitter that section and let that cure and then go in with your epoxy, you can do it that way as well. And then I did go ahead and epoxy one side of the tumbler and I added glitter, and then epoxy the other side of the tumbler and added glitter. You don't have to do that. Just epoxy the painted portion of the tumbler at once. And what you're going to do is you're going to lay down your base glitter. And that's going to be like a chunky glitter. And that will just sort of form the canvas, if you will, for the upcoming easy ombre that we're going to be doing. So while I am glittering this side of the tumbler, let me just sort of do a recap. Paint your tumbler, your base color. Paint a bleach spot or whatever you want to call it. And then go in with your epoxy. Now, how you choose to do that is up to you. If you choose to epoxy just the center and let that cure and then epoxy the rest, or if you choose to epoxy the whole thing and just be careful not to mix the glitters. It's up to you. Now for the second glitter, we're going to start in the very center and just go in a line up and down across the tumbler, holding the tumbler straight. And you can see how we already have that shifting in color. And then you're just going to shake it to the left and then shake it to the right and let those glitters cascade down over either side of the tumbler. We're going to do that. We're going to repeat that with each and every glitter, but each time you're going to move over a section. So like this one, like I said, we started in the center of the back, and then our next glitter, we're going to go right up next to the center one on either side. So as I explained, this is the third glitter, and we're not going to the very center. We're going to start right up next to it and let it fall. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. And we're going to shake it to the right and to the left. I'm not speeding this up because I want you to be able to see the effect that we're getting, the ombre effect, because it's not a bold ombre. It is a very subtle ombre. I hope you can see it on camera as well as I can see it in person. And then for this next glitter, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go right up next to that third glitter that we did. We're going to let that cascade down either side of the tumbler. And then we're going to rock it to the right and to the left. Now you can see the front center part of the tumbler on the top and the bottom has not been epoxied yet. I did go back and glitter those sections the same way that we are doing this section. Initially, I was going to do something else there, and then I changed my mind. So that is not filmed, but I did it the same way that we're doing this. Now, it doesn't look as ombre because it was a smaller area and it looks just more glittered, but that's okay. Oh, that's so pretty. It is looking so good. And then we're just going to roll this gently in some paper to push down the chunky glitters. Do not squeeze or wipe. Just gently roll. And then I did go ahead and seal this and then added 2 coats of epoxy. Both were 20 milliliters each. And then it was ready for vinyl work. And here it is after it has cured, and you can see how the glitter starts in the center and then spreads out to either side of the tumbler, and then the chunky glitters turn into smaller cuts of glitter as it cascades around the tumbler. So that's what we're going for. Subtle ombre look. We're going to put some trim around the front center, and we're going to add our vinyls. So initially, I wanted to use this nail striping tape. However, it turned out not to work. It was not pliable at all. I applied it 3 different times. I even tried to seal it. It just wasn't working out. So we scratched that. And we're going to be using these rub-on butterflies, as well as this holographic vinyl and this glow-in-the-dark vinyl. So you want to make sure your tumbler is smooth. We're not doing a peekaboo or anything like that, but you still don't want to add vinyl over an unsmooth tumbler because it will show. Now, as for the bottom, I have not epoxied the bottom yet. This is just paint. And yes, some of the paint has come off. I'm going to add this glow-in-the-dark vinyl to the bottom. And then we're just going to sit that aside as far as the bottom part goes. And we're going to finish that a little later on. To be honest, it was one of those things where I wanted to do something special, but I just didn't know what. So I put it off as long as I could until I finally had to get around to finishing it. And we do finish it, and it looks good in the end. As of right now, we're just adding this vinyl. Now, because of the Bible verse and how it talks about the thoughts that our Lord has for us, I immediately knew I wanted thought bubbles, but I didn't want them to be super prominent or to take away from the Bible verse on the front of the tumbler. So I did not do any sort of outline or offset to my thought bubbles. I did want them to just sort of blend into the tumbler. You can, however, if you want them to stand out a little bit more, you can do an outline to them. But again, I just didn't want that to be like the first thing that you saw. I sort of wanted it to be an afterthought, if you will. So that's why we just cut the vinyl as is, nothing fancy around it. Now, here's the striping tape I was telling you about. Like I said, I scratched this and added some glow-in-the-dark vinyl, as well as some of this holographic shimmer vinyl, and you'll see that a little bit later. And then as far as the wording in the thought bubbles goes, this is a glow-in-the-dark vinyl, and again, it isn't super bold or in your face, but that was what I was going for. Take this idea, make it your own. This is just the canvas, the blueprint, the pattern piece, however you want to reference it. This is just an idea, maybe to spark your own idea. Or if you want to replicate this, change it up with different colors, different vinyls, of course. So, but for me and what I wanted on this tumbler, what I saw for this tumbler, I didn't really want the words or the thought bubbles to be the main design element to the tumbler. Now, also, while I was thinking about this tumbler and the process after the fact, what you could do is you could go ahead and epoxy and ombre the entire tumbler, your base color, and then come in afterwards and apply your oval or circle bleach spot area. Again, the reason I did not do it that way is because I was looking for more of like an ombre from side to side on the tumbler, and I felt like doing it in halves would work better. If you're glittering the entire tumbler to create an ombre, if you want it from side to side around the tumbler to ombre, it's a little bit more difficult, I feel like. So, but that's another idea. If you wanted to do an ombre from top to bottom and ombre the entire tumbler, go ahead and do that first. And then add your epoxy, let that cure, and then come in with your focal area secondly. So, I mean, this isn't a difficult design to do. And basically, the only reason I had problems with this tumbler was my own doings, because I sort of had a direction, but I had multiple directions. And so I didn't completely solidify my design before starting the tumbler, and that was on me. We're going to go ahead and put our Bible verse on the front, and then I wind up taking the nail striping tape off, and you could still see it through the rub-on butterfly. So later on, I did go ahead and remove that piece as well, and it removed the butterfly. So I just added another rub-on butterfly on top of that one. And then I went in with some glow-in-the-dark vinyl and holographic vinyl and sort of did like this offset ring around the Bible verse. But the Bible verse wasn't completely in the center of the white area. So when I cut the vinyl, it wound up being a little bit off. And so some of the white glitter was outside the vinyl area. So I did kind of go back once I had it on the turner with epoxy, and I tried to add some of the green glitter to make it blend a little better. It did okay, but it didn't blend quite like I wanted it to. But again, it's okay. I mean, it still, in my opinion, looks good. Once this coat of epoxy cured, I did go ahead and sand the rim of my tumbler, exposing just a tiny bit of that stainless steel. I did add some glitter to the bottom, as well as another vinyl stripe. And then I cleaned it up really well to remove any sanding debris, and then added another coat of epoxy. And that is all for this tumbler. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it has inspired you to create something all your own. And I appreciate everyone watching my videos. I'm going to try to get back to a weekly video. But if not, if you click on the bell, you will be notified anytime I do upload a new video. So thank you everyone who has subscribed and who watches my videos. It means so much to me. I truly appreciate you, and I hope everyone has a blessed day.